Discover the heartwarming romance, how she stood up to a billionaire and changed her life forever. In the quaint town of Maplewood, where cherry blossoms flared against the azure sky, Emma stood behind the counter of Blossoms of Hope, her heart swelling with pride in the scent of lilacs. This wasn't just a flower shop. It was a sanctuary filled with vibrant blooms and living memories of her late mother, who had taught her that resilience was as intricate as arranging flowers. Each petal held a story. Each arrangement was laced with love. But that morning, as the sun spilled golden light over the oak-lined streets, everything changed. Ethan, her 16-year-old son, rushed in, his brown hair tousled and eyes wide with urgency. "Mom, we gotta talk," he said, the tremor in his voice sending a jolt of anxiety through her chest. "They say Jake wants to tear down the shop." Jake. The name hung heavy in the air. A billionaire with sharp suits and sharper ambitions, looking to pave over their cherished community with condos that could swallow the soul of Maplewood whole. Emma could feel her heart racing. This wasn't just a fight for her shop. It felt like a fight for every family, every tradition intertwined with the roots of this town. In the days that followed, the news spread like wildfire. Word traveled fast among the townsfolk, turning shocked whispers into waves of indignation. Emma watched as her neighbors gathered outside Blossoms of Hope, determination etched on their faces as they rallied against the incoming threat. The comfort of her fragrant blooms now clashed with the looming reality of development. Was it really just about the shop? No, it was about preserving their way of life. Fueled by hope, Emma organized a town meeting, her hands shaking with excitement. She rose before the crowd and spoke with the passion that came from a wellspring of love for her community. "This isn't just my store," she cried. "It's a part of all of us." Gasps echoed, her words igniting a flame in the heart of Maplewood. But then Jake walked in. The air shifted. His piercing blue eyes caught hers, and for a moment the tension faded. Was he just an ambitious outsider? Emma didn't know, yet she felt the weight of their conflicting worlds collide. In his gaze, she glimpsed a flicker of humanity that stirred something within her. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue.
Just when Emma thought the community's support would see her through, trials loomed on the personal horizon. Ethan, who wore anger and despair like a badge after getting into trouble at school, threatened to draw her focus from the shop and the fight. The ache in her chest grew sharper. Could she really balance it all when everything felt like it was unraveling? As days turned into nights, Emma felt the pressure mount. But one evening, she found herself face to face with Jake. "Why are you doing this?" she asked, her voice laced with heartbreak and fury. They both stood, walls built from years of fear and ambition crumbling, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden hue over Maplewood. In that moment, everything was at stake: the shop, the town, her son. As emotions ran high, an undeniable truth began to emerge. There was more binding them than a simple conflict over land. Would either of them be willing to sacrifice for something larger than themselves? The air thickened with anticipation, and, just like that, her phone buzzed with devastating news, threatening to change everything forever. Emma had to decide: stand up for her legacy or surrender to a world that didn't understand the heart of Maplewood. The sunlight dipped lower, casting long shadows over the narrow streets as Emma looked down at her buzzing phone. Her heart raced as she read the message: "Emergency meeting tonight, town council." She felt her breath hitch in her throat. This wasn't an invitation, it was a summons. They needed to decide the fate of the shop and everything she held dear. Turning to the small crowd lingering outside the shop, she gathered her strength. "I need you all at the town hall tonight," she said, her voice steady despite the storm brewing inside. "This is our chance to fight back, but I can't do it without you." Ethan stood at her side, arms crossed, a storm cloud over his head. "Mom, I need you here with me," he mumbled, his tone heavy with the weariness of a troubled teen feeling lost. Emma felt a stab of guilt. He deserved her attention too, but she couldn't let him see her falter. "Ethan, this matters to all of us." She reached for him, but he shrugged away. "Maybe it doesn't matter to me, Mom," he muttered, turning on his heel. The hurt in his voice sliced through her. Could she juggle her battle for the shop and the emotional turmoil of her son? That night, the The town hall buzzed with a mix of fatigue and determination. Emma walked in, scanning the sea of familiar faces. She was buoyed by some, her closest friends, ready to fight beside her. But she saw the fatigue etched in the lines of others, older folks who had given years to the town. They were tired of fighting, and she felt their spirit waning. As the meeting began, all eyes turned to the council members seated at the front. One of them, old Mr. Thompson, stood up, his voice quivering but firm. "We've fought against decisions like this before. Maplewood matters."
The crowd echoed the sentiment, a chorus of agreement bubbling up, awakening the sleepy town spirit. Emma felt her heart swell. This was what she needed. Yet her glance started to the side, where Jake stood cool and confident, his presence a sharp contrast to the passionate crowd. Emma felt a flare of anger. There he was, ready to bulldoze everything she had spent years building. When she was finally called to speak, Emma took a deep breath and walked to the front. The crowd quieted, the air heavy with anticipation. "Our town is not just land," she began, her voice growing stronger as she spoke. "It's about the memories we create, the flowers blooming in our gardens, the laughter echoing through our streets." She glanced at Ethan, who was watching her now, eyes wide with hope. "We can't lose that." Applause erupted, echoing off the walls, filling her with a warmth that drove her passion. Emma seized the moment. "This isn't just about me. It's for every one of you, for our children's futures, for the spirit of community." But Jake interrupted, stepping forward, his voice smooth like silk. "Emma, I understand your passion, but change is inevitable. I'm not just here to destroy. I want to help build a better future, one that includes progress." The room erupted again, arguments flying back and forth. Emma's heart raced as she fought to gather her thoughts. He made a compelling point, but there was a deeper truth she could feel stirring. "And at what cost, Jake?" she challenged, breaking through the chaos. "What is the price of progress?" His eyes met hers, and in that moment, both were acutely aware that something was shifting inside them. The tension sparked as if two opposing forces were stirring a whirlwind of possibilities. Outside that hall, the cherry blossoms were beginning to bloom, a symbol of new beginnings and hope. But what would it cost Emma to fight for what she loved? And could Jake ever truly see the beauty of preserving Maplewood, instead of just transforming it? As the meeting reached a fever pitch, Emma felt the weight of the moment. Her next words could change everything. She took a deep breath, ready to reveal what lay in her heart. Just then, the door swung open, and a familiar face stepped in. A face she hadn't seen in years. Emma's breath caught. Who was it? The room fell silent, and all eyes turned to the newcomer. The figure that stepped through the door seemed to freeze time itself. Emma blinked, searching her memory for the familiar face etched in her heart. Her old friend Lily had come back to Maplewood. A surge of hope washed over Emma, the warmth of their past friendship flooding her veins. Lily had always been the one with endless dreams and a flair for adventure. The two of them had shared ice cream on summer nights, whispered secrets under the stars, and mapped out wild plans to take on the world.
But life had pulled them apart, and now, as the echoes of the meeting filled the air, Emma wondered what had brought Lily back. Lily scanned the crowd, her eyes finally landing on Emma. A radiant smile spread across her face, one filled with mischief and understanding. It was the kind of smile the darkest of days. Emma felt the tension in her own chest loosen slightly, the weight of struggle lifting just a little. "Emma, I heard there was a storm brewing in town," Lily called out, her voice cutting through the murmurs in the hall. The crowd turned curiously to listen. Emma felt a combination of embarrassment and joy as she took a step closer, drawn to her friend. "What are you doing here?" she asked, trying to keep her voice steady, glancing back at Jake momentarily. The rivalry, the tension, all of it faded momentarily as she focused on the warmth of Lily's presence. "I've been away for way too long and came back to see what my favorite place was up to, and find my best friend in the midst of a revolution, apparently," Lily chuckled lightly, but her eyes were serious. "I heard about your shop, Em. I had to come support you." The room shifted once more, people leaning in, eager to witness this unexpected reunion. Emma felt the eyes of the townsfolk. Curiosity and nostalgia radiated amongst them, as if they all wanted to join in on this moment.
It was comforting and intimidating all at once. "Let her speak," someone shouted from the back of the crowd, and a ripple of agreement swept through the room. Emma's heart leaped. Maybe this was just the energy they needed. Maybe Lily's presence was a sign. Lily stepped beside Emma confidently. "You know, I think our town is like a cherished book, filled with stories and memories. Just because it's getting a rewrite doesn't mean we should erase the original pages," she said, her voice clear and strong as it resonated with the crowd. "You can have change without tossing aside everything that makes you you, everything that makes Maplewood, Maplewood." Emma felt an electric thrill course through her. There it was, the truth they needed, the reminder that preserving their identity didn't mean resisting progress entirely. Maybe, just maybe, they could find a way to weave their past with the future. Jake watched the pair, his expression shifting as he began to comprehend something deeper, something perhaps worth discussing rather than deciding. "What if we can find a middle ground?" he suggested, his voice carrying more curiosity than challenge. The crowd fell silent again, the tension in the air replaced with a new kind of possibility. Suddenly, they weren't just fighting for survival, they were collaborating for a shared dream. Emma glanced at Ethan, who stood in the audience, a flicker of pride lighting his expression. The weight of anxiety clinging to her chest began to disperse.
She felt stronger, not just as a business owner, but as a mother, as a member of a community that was coming together. "Let's talk about this," Emma said, taking a deep breath. As she sensed the tide turning, an idea sparked in her mind. Could they truly negotiate a future where both sides might thrive? But as hope blossomed around her, Emma couldn't ignore the feeling deep in her gut. This was just the beginning of the battle. Would she really be able to bridge the gap between progress and preservation? And what role would Jake play in all of this? The door creaked again, drawing Emma's attention. Another familiar face emerged, a face from her past, tied to dreams that had long lain dormant. Emma's heart raced. What did this new arrival mean for her fight? The next chapter of her life was unfolding right before her, and she was ready to see where it might lead. As Emma turned to face the new arrival, her heart stammered in her chest. Familiarity hung in the air like a vintage perfume, memories wafting back with every second that passed. There he was, Ryan, her high school sweetheart. The boy with an infectious grin and the dreams to match. The very person who had once filled her life with laughter and hope before they went their separate ways. Ryan looked just as handsome as she remembered, with a confident stride that suggested he had made a life for himself. He was holding something, a small collection of photos, worn and dog-eared. As he stepped closer, the crowd suddenly began to murmur again, sharing intrigued glances at the unexpected reunion. "Emma," he said, his voice warm and bright, cutting through the noise. "Ryan," she managed, her heart pounding. She couldn't fathom what brought him back to Maplewood after all these years. Did he know about the struggles she faced or the vision she was trying to realize for their town? "I heard you've been through quite a storm," he said, gesturing toward the street where the gathering was taking place. "I couldn't miss the chance to see you and support your efforts." Emma felt her cheeks flush. Warmth filled her chest as Ryan's smile reached her. It was the smile that had persuaded her to take risks, to dream bigger than the small town confines. They once dreamed of traveling the world together, chasing sunsets and finding adventures beyond what Maplewood could offer. What would he think of her now, standing amidst battles for her shop and community? "Not quite the adventure we planned back then, huh?" she said, forcing a light chuckle, yet the weight of her worries stretched far beyond jest. "We had our own plans, didn't we?" He glanced at the crowd. "But it looks like you're creating your own story right here, Emma. That's pretty incredible." The warmth she had felt from Lily earlier radiated through her again, but this time it was mixed with the pulse of fear. What if Ryan had changed? What if he didn't support her fight? As she caught sight of Jake fidgeting by the entrance, a sharp breath rippled through her, muddling her clarity. What do we do now? She wanted to ask. Instead, she gestured toward the gathering. "Have you been working on something too?" Ryan inquired, tilting his head. "You seem different, stronger." His words wrapped around her like a soft blanket, infusing her with confidence she barely felt.
Yes, I am. I'm trying to save my business, our community facing change, while keeping the heart of Maplewood alive. Ryan nodded, and for a moment their eyes locked, igniting a spark in the thrumming silence between them. Hope surged in her. Maybe he could help. Maybe he understood. "We're all standing on the brink of something," he said, his gaze shifting to Lily beside her. "And every revolution needs a good plan." Before Emma could respond, the crowd stirred once more, their interest piqued by their conversation. Fingers pointed and whispers traveled swiftly like the wind, wrapping Lily and Ryan into the same narrative. Emma abruptly felt the weight of expectation settle on her. What if Ryan wanted to join the fight for her business? What if, in doing so, he would rekindle the feelings they once held? Was she ready for that kind of connection again? As the murmurs escalated, Emma's mind raced with possibilities. Could she truly welcome Ryan back into her life amidst the challenges she faced? Just as she was about to voice her thoughts, the door creaked yet again behind Ryan. Another figure stepped through, the aura of their arrival thick with unresolved feelings, a sign that this gathering reshaped memories from the past while stirring potential for the future. Emma's heart skipped. Who was this new stranger, and what role would they play in this intricate web she was trying to weave? Everything hinted toward an upheaval to come. Her heart raced at what lay ahead. Emma's gaze shifted past Ryan, her breath catching in her throat. It was Sarah, her childhood rival, the girl who had always lived in the shadow of Emma's warmth, now stepping into the light with an air of confidence that made Emma uneasy. Sarah held her head high, her eyes scanning the crowd before they landed on Emma. "Of all the places, huh?" Sarah's voice was laced with both surprise and a hint of mockery. Behind her, the wind tugged at her hair, framing her perfectly composed look. Emma felt a rush of emotions, nostalgia, frustration, and a threat of fear. The last time they crossed paths had been a clash of wills over the same neighborhood project, leaving a bitterness that lingered like bad perfume. "Sarah," Emma managed, forcing a tight smile. "I see you're back in Maplewood." "Oh, you know me," Sarah replied, her tone flippant, "always ready to reclaim what I left behind." Ryan shifted slightly, a puzzled look on his face. Emma wished she could gauge what he was thinking. Did he see Sarah as just another acquaintance, or did he sense the underlying tension of rivalry?
"What brings you here?" Emma asked, trying to keep her voice steady, but it wobbled nonetheless. Sarah shrugged, planting her hands on her hips. "I heard about the community project you've got going on. Thought I'd come and see what all the fuss is about." Before Emma could respond, Ryan interjected. "It's pretty inspiring, actually. Emma's done a lot to uplift a town that's been through some tough times." Emma's heart fluttered at Ryan's support, but Sarah merely chuckled. "Oh, really? So this is where we are? The savior of Maplewood?" She flashed a grin that felt devoid of warmth. Instinctively, Emma tensed, feeling the cheeky jab. "More like trying to help," Emma said, defiantly lifting her chin. "What's the plan, then? More pop-up events? A Save Maplewood bake sale?" Sarah's laughter sliced through the air, dripping with condescension. "Actually," Ryan spoke up, his eyes narrowing slightly, "it takes a lot more than that. It takes heart. It takes bravery." Emma felt a surge of gratitude toward Ryan. Did he stand by her against Sarah's barbs? It felt good to have his support, but it also opened a door of vulnerability. What was she willing to show? "Those are nice words, Ryan," Sarah shot back, rolling her eyes, "but pretty words don't save businesses, do they?" Emma's gut twisted at that. Couldn't Sarah see they were all trying to build something worthwhile? Did she only see rivalry where Emma wanted community? "I think it's about more than just business," Emma finally said, conviction flowing from her. "It's about connection, rebuilding lives after loss. Our lives, don't you understand?" For a moment, silence enveloped them, broken only by the low hum of whispers across the crowd. Emma locked eyes with Ryan again, searching for reassurance, a flicker of belief that she still had it in her to fight back. Finally, a faint smile crept onto Ryan's face. "She's right. We're stronger together. Your negativity won't help anyone." Emma held her breath, feeling an unfamiliar strength grow. "Maybe we should take this somewhere else," Sarah offered, but her tone had shifted ever so slightly, less playful, more calculating. What was she plotting now? Emma's heart raced, fear entwined with determination. Could they navigate the complexities of the past while standing their ground for the present? Just then Jake stepped forward through the crowd, his expression anxious. "Emma, can we talk?" Emma felt a knot tighten in her stomach. What could Jake want now? Did he sense the tension, or was there something more pressing? As she glanced between Ryan, Sarah, and Jake, the weight of the moment bore down on her. "Yeah," Emma finally said, her voice steady despite the internal chaos. "Let's talk." But as she turned to follow Jake, she couldn't shake the feeling that everything was about to change. What would they discuss that could shift her carefully constructed world? Each step away from Ryan felt like a step deeper into uncertainty. Emma glanced back over her shoulder, catching Ryan's eye one last time.
There was a promise of connection there, but also a question that loomed like a storm cloud. What did this mean for them? Would they weather the storm together, or would they be swept away by the tide of the past? Emma's heart pounded as she took that first step to face whatever was coming next. Emma followed Jake through the bustling crowd, her heart pounding as she glanced around at familiar faces mingling in the summer sun. The vibrant colors of the community fair blurred together, enveloping her in memories that danced like fragments of dreams. "Over here," Jake said, leading her toward a quieter corner behind the food stalls, where the chatter faded, replaced by the soft sound of nearby laughter. "What's up?" Emma asked, trying to sound casual, even as adrenaline coursed through her veins. Jake ran a hand through his hair, an old habit that made her nervous. "It's about the project," his voice trailed off, the weight of his words hanging heavy in the air. Emma felt her pulse quicken. "What about it? Is there a problem?" No, not a problem. Not like that." He shifted from one foot to the other, avoiding her gaze. "I just think we need to prepare for some backlash. Sarah's not just back to visit, she has connections." "Connections," Emma echoed, her stomach twisting at the thought. "Like what?" "I heard she might not just be interested in critiques," Jake said, finally looking her in the eye. "I think she's planning to rally support for something against us. I don't know what yet, but I get a sense she's here for more than just curiosity." The crowd seemed to close in around her, and Emma's chest tightened. Was Sarah really going to undermine all the work they had done? She inhaled deeply, grounding herself. "We can handle it," she asserted, even as a flicker of doubt crept in. "Jake, we're doing this for everyone. We just need to stay focused." "Of course," Jake replied, his voice steady but tinged with concern. "But we also need a plan in case she plays dirty. It's what she does." Like, expect the worst from people? Emma felt the warmth of anger rising. How could someone thrive on pettiness? Exactly. And if we don't anticipate her moves, it might catch us off guard. Emma bit her lip, feeling the urgency of the moment settle over her. She didn't want to fight back. She wanted to uplift everyone, including Sarah. "What if," she began, the thought forming in her mind, "what if we reach out to the community, show them what we're about? We could host an open forum, inviting everyone to share their ideas." Jake's eyes widened, and for a moment there was a flash of admiration in his expression. "You really think that might work?" "I have to believe it can," Emma replied, her confidence solidifying. Hope sparked within her, igniting a resolve she hadn't fully recognized before. "Together, we can turn negativity into something positive." Just like we intended. As they spoke, Emma felt a sense of purpose wash over her, but an unsettling thought crept in. What if Sarah wouldn't play fair? What if their intentions weren't enough to counter her schemes? "Okay, let's make plans for it," Jake said decisively, but doubt marred his expression. "But remember, you can't control how Sarah reacts." She nodded, but her heart wrestled with uncertainty. Amidst her determination, the specter of Sarah loomed large. Could they really step into the light together? Or would Sarah cast them aside once more? As they began strategizing, Emma stole glances toward the crowd, searching for Ryan. She spotted him near the entrance, laughing with a group. The sight made her chest warm. But then Sarah's laughter cut through the buzz again, that sharp, bitter sound. Emma's heart sank. Was that the lasting tone of their once vibrant town? "I'll be right back," she told Jake, urgency gnawing at her again. She stepped away, drawn back towards Sarah, who now stood surrounded by a group of intrigued faces. "Want to join us?" Sarah called, with a grin that felt like a challenge. Emma could feel the eyes of onlookers shift toward her, curiosity sparking like a flame. Taking a deep breath, Emma squared her shoulders. "I think I'll make my own group," she answered, raising her chin. She could feel the weight of her decision. Would this be the moment that truly shifted everything for her, when she faced Sarah head-on and declared her intent? What would happen then? As she stepped forward, Emma prepared herself for the storm brewing on the horizon. Everything was at stake, and she was ready to meet it. But in that confrontation, would she discover the strength within to stand her ground, or a new connection to foster, even with an old rival? Emma felt her feet carry her closer to Sarah, her mind racing with possibilities. Every step was a small battle against her own fears. Ryan's laughter echoed in her ears, a warm reminder of the support waiting just behind her. But Sarah's challenge felt like a lightning bolt, crackling through the very fabric of what was about to unfold. "You're brave, Emma," Sarah said, a playful smirk tugging at her lips. "But brave doesn't always mean smart." The crowd swirled around them, faces filled with anticipation, like a live audience waiting for the next act in a show. "Maybe it's my turn to surprise you," Emma replied, injecting every ounce of defiance she could muster into her voice. It felt shaky, but she pressed on. "What we're doing, it's bigger than both of us. We want the community to thrive, not tear it apart." Sarah arched an eyebrow, amusement flashing across her face. "And you think they'll buy into your little fairy tale, just because you flash a smile and show your face?" A flicker of doubt ignited within Emma, but she channeled it into determination. She could almost hear Jake's words behind her. "Plan your actions. Anticipate the backlash." "I'm not doing it for show."
I want to help everyone, and no matter what you're planning, I believe there's good in our community, and they'll see that. With every word, she felt the fire in her chest swell, pushing away the apprehension. The buzz of the crowd was soft now, breathing between breaths, as if waiting to see what would happen next. "Good luck with that," Sarah spat, but Emma caught the hint of uncertainty in her tone. This was a crack, a weak spot in Sarah's armor. Emma clung to it. "You could join us, you know." The offer slipped out before she could filter it. "You could be part of the change instead of trying to fight it." That took Sarah aback. The smirk fell from her face, replaced momentarily by surprise. "And lose my edge, please. Why does it have to be a fight?" Emma pressed forward, heart pounding. "What if we each find a way to bring something valuable to this town, to collaborate instead of divide?" "Collaboration," Sarah laughed, but it lacked its usual bite. "What makes you think I'm interested in playing nice?" "Because maybe deep down, you want the same thing we all do, to make this place better." For the first time, Emma recognized a moment, a fleeting glimpse of vulnerability crossing Sarah's face. Emma couldn't be sure if the challenge had cracked her facade, or if she was simply toying with her emotions. "Emma." Jake's voice broke through, tension filled with urgency. He appeared beside her, eyes darting from Emma to Sarah. "Are you okay?" "I'm fine," Emma replied, though she could feel the warmth in her cheeks. It was becoming clear to her that this standoff required something more than she had anticipated. "Are you sure?" Jake pressed, concern mixing with doubt. She took a breath and nodded, steeling herself. Sarah may still have the upper hand, but she had an idea, a way forward. "What if we each present our vision at the open forum?" Emma suggested. "A chance to put both our ideas in the spotlight." "What are you proposing?" Sarah asked, an edge of curiosity in her voice now. "Let's show everyone what we believe, a fair discussion. No underhanded tactics, just transparency." Emma's voice held firm, a new sense of purpose emerging. Sarah's eyes narrowed, weighing the proposition, but Emma could see the wheels turning. Would Sarah agree to this, or was it merely the calm before another storm? Still, a spark of hope flickered in Emma's heart. Perhaps, just perhaps, this was the moment that could redefine everything, creating a bridge from contention to collaboration. But what awaited at that open forum? What truths can emerge when the community gathered, and would they be stronger or weaker by the end of it all? The open forum turned out to be more than just a gathering. It transformed into a battleground of ideals. As whispers spread through the crowd, Emma could feel the weight of expectation resting on her shoulders. People were curious, intrigued by the prospect of these two opposing forces sharing their visions. Yet, there was an undercurrent of tension. The stakes felt impossibly high. Ryan stood nearby, supportive but just as anxious. His eyes scanned the crowd, picking out familiar faces that mirrored his apprehension. "You've got this, Em. Just remember why you're doing it." His reassurance steadied her. She needed to keep her focus. Emma took a deep breath as she climbed onto the makeshift stage, the world around her fading to a soft hum. She wanted to connect, to show them the vision radiating in her heart. "Thank you all for coming tonight," she began, her voice steady but warm. "This community is more than just a collection of houses and streets. It's a home. Each of us has a story that adds color to the tapestry of our lives here. Together, we can weave those stories into something beautiful." The murmurs quieted, attention drawn towards her. She could see some faces nodding, agreement shining in their eyes, a flicker of hope ignited in her chest. "Instead of dividing ourselves into factions, we should unite. Let's talk about the community garden I want to start. It's not just about growing food, it's about growing relationships. Imagine a place where families come together, sharing meals, sharing stories, sharing lives." The more she spoke, the more animated she became.
Visions of possibilities began to spill from her lips, the ideas connecting with her audience like ripples in a pond. As Emma reached the climax of her speech, she locked eyes with Sarah. To her surprise, Andrew was in the audience, staring at her with an intensity that felt unnerving. But Emma didn't back down. She needed to show the heart of her message. What was at stake resonate even louder within her. Together, we can create something extraordinary. We can make this community thrive, not just survive. The crowd buzzed with applause. Emma stepped back, her heart racing. She glanced toward Ryan, who was grinning widely, pride shining in his eyes. But before she could breathe a sigh of relief, Sarah stepped forward, a calculated smile plastered on her face. Impressive, Emma, but your fairy tale ignores the reality. What do you really know about our community's struggles? Sarah's voice dripped of sarcasm, but the audience remained silent, seeking the confrontation they felt building in the air. Emma felt a pull beneath her confidence, and her stomach churned. Was this the moment the tide would turn? She glanced at Ryan once more, grounding herself in his unwavering support, and found her voice. Maybe we need to face those struggles together. Her tone was firmer this time, as if she were striking a match to ignite the kindling of a shared desire for change. Maybe we need to listen to one another instead of turning away. The audience seemed divided, some still heady with Emma's vision, while others shared Sarah's skepticism. Emma realized how fragile the moment was. Their eyes shifted back and forth. A teetering balance between hope and doubt hung in the air.
How well do you really know them, Emma? Sarah pressed, her smirk widening, ready to unleash a storm on Emma's growing confidence. That question hung heavy, simmering just beneath the surface. Emma's heart raced as she prepared to defend herself against whatever Sarah was planning next. But what else could Sarah reveal? Emma could feel the tension crackling again, each heartbeat echoing the uncertainty that loomed just ahead. Would truth emerge from the shadows, or would this moment fracture the community further? Emma's pulse quickened as Sarah continued to stare her down. "You're not from here, Emma," Sarah said, her voice low, almost conspiratorial. "You might have some grand plans, but you still don't know what it's like to struggle every day. You don't know what these people need." The audience shifted uncomfortably, caught between their allegiance to Emma's idealism and Sarah's practical reality. Emma swallowed hard, a lump forming in her throat. She had spent weeks preparing for this moment, finessing her words, visualizing this very encounter. But now, doubt crept in like an unwanted guest. "Actually, I do know about struggle," Emma retorted, her voice gaining strength. "I grew up in a small town not too different from this one where people helped each other out, even when times were tough. It's what I remember most about home. It's what I want to create here." Still, she could see the skepticism in some eyes. Emma felt adrift in a sea of doubt as she glanced at Ryan. He nodded, a fierce determination behind his gaze that reignited her fire. "Look," Emma continued, presenting herself with renewed confidence. "I may not have lived in this neighborhood for decades, but I see its potential. I want to listen. I want to learn what you all need. A community garden is just the start. Together, we can address your struggles." Sarah's expression suddenly turned deadly serious. "And what happens when that garden isn't enough? What then, Emma? What if we need jobs, safety, more than just symbolism?" The crowd gasped, caught off guard. They hadn't expected such an explosive inquiry. Emma's mind raced, grappling with the reality of Sarah's question. They needed more, she knew that. "I'm not saying a garden will solve everything," Emma asserted, her voice rising to be heard over the stillness. "But it's a place to start, to bring our community together. It can spark new ideas, start conversations. It's about more than plants. It's about people." An older woman in the crowd, her face lined with the struggles of time, stepped forward. "Emma," her voice cracked, "I appreciate your heart, really, but we've tried before and nothing lasts. How can we believe this will be different?" Emma's heart sank at the skepticism peppered throughout the crowd. Desperation washed over her, but desperation transformed into clarity. She took a deep breath, grounding herself, reaching deep within for sincerity. "Because I'm here. I'm here with you." "I want to learn your stories. I want to hear your fears, your hopes." She paused, daring to let her vulnerability show. "I may not have the answers, but I want to work alongside you, piece by piece. Will you take that chance with me?" A moment of silence stretched, tension winding among the crowd. Slowly, a young man in the back raised his hand. "What have you got in mind? What does this garden really look like?" The question hung in the air, vibrating with potential. Emma's breath hitched as she realized the moment was slowly turning in her favor.
I envision a space filled with colorful flowers, vegetables ripening on vines. I see families gathering, sharing meals and laughter over the fruits of their labor. Emma's excitement revived, her words spilling out like sunlight pouring through cracks. I see kids practicing together, learning from each other, and creating friendships. As she spoke, more voices joined in, asking questions, sharing ideas. Here was the spark she had yearned for, and with every word, she could feel the energy shifting, all eyes on her, curiosity guiding their expressions. But in the back of her mind, a whisper of uncertainty lingered. Did she truly understand their needs, or was she just painting a picture, unsure of what lay beneath? The night was not over yet. This was only the beginning of the journey, a path fraught with challenges. Emma steadied her heart, sensing a pivotal moment ahead. What if these plans fall apart? The worry nudged at her. But could it lead to a new direction, one that might finally bind them together? As she prepared to dive back into the conversation, she felt anticipation, the air humming with the weight of possibility. Beyond the noise, she couldn't shake the feeling that they were on the brink of a revelation, one that could either uplift their community or shatter it entirely. What would it be? Emma's heart raced again, but before she could fully wrestle with her uncertainty, a voice broke through the quiet. An invitation, brimming with unexpected challenge, beckoned her onward. The atmosphere in the room shifted as Emma braced herself for Sarah's next move. Sarah straightened, her eyes sharpened with determination. Okay, let's do this then. You want to unite the community, so why not have a contest? We'll put our visions head to head. The proposal hung in the air, electrifying the tension around them. Emma blinked, momentarily taken aback. A contest? Sarah nodded, her smirk now replaced by an earnestness that pulled the audience in. Yes, let's see whose plan can truly resonate with the town. A presentation, community feedback, everything. The side with the most support wins. Stunned murmurs swept through the crowd, the shock of the challenge melding with intrigue. Emma's heart raced. The stakes just rose exponentially. It was risky, but maybe this was the chance they needed to truly address the town's concerns. I accept,
Emma declared, before she could second-guess herself. She felt a surprising wave of excitement wash over her. There was something thrilling about the idea of competing. It would push her to refine her vision and, more importantly, to listen. Great! You've got 2 weeks, Sarah said, her chin lifted defiantly. The crowd erupted in whispers, some nodding in approval, while others frowned, uncertain of this new direction. Let's make it interesting, Emma added, her pulse quickening. 2 weeks to present not just our projects, but also how we plan to turn ideas into action. Who knows? We might find common ground along the way. A ripple of agreement washed through the crowd as Emma felt the power of hope swell in her chest. That night, Emma could hardly sleep. Ideas swirled in her head like fireflies in a summer night. She had 2 weeks to forge a compelling vision and build connections. Her heart brimmed with energy, and determination surged through her veins. Over coffee the next morning, with Ryan, they pored over ideas, charting plans and laying the groundwork. You need to map out how to involve the community, Em, he advised thoughtfully. Make this a canvas they can all paint on together. Right. If it's just me pushing an idea, it won't resonate. They need to see their needs reflected in it, Emma said, soaking in the insight like a sponge. As days passed, Emma transformed the flower shop into a hub of brainstorming sessions, inviting townsfolk in to share their hopes, fears, and ideas. Parents, students, and elders sought refuge among the blooms, talking about what Maplewood meant to them and how they envisioned its future. With every passing day, the spirit of unity grew, blossoming like the flowers in her shop. As the sun set each evening, Emma could feel the current of change weaving through the community. They were building something together. She had never. The phone buzzed with an urgent message, breaking her thoughts. There's a rally in town tomorrow to support your efforts. Ethan's excitement echoed through her mind. Emma's heart swelled with pride as she realized her son was feeling the pulse of excitement too. That's amazing, Emma replied, her heart brimming. But the slow unease of what Sarah might plan next sprawled in the background. Then came the final 2 days, the countdown to the contest, and Emma felt the weight of expectation heavier than ever. She reached out to Sarah, inviting her for a joint session where the two could share insights and touch on their visions together. Sarah's reaction surprised her. So you want to collaborate? Play nice? There was skepticism, but also a glimmer of curiosity in Sarah's eyes. Not just play nice, Emma clarified, her voice steady. Let's find a common path. It doesn't have to be us against each other. After a moment of hesitation, Sarah nodded. Let's do it.
As the two rivals joined forces, something extraordinary began to take shape. Ideas flowed seamlessly, and the fear that had once shadowed their encounters became a foundation for change. In those last moments, the essence of Maplewood transformed. Splintered rivals set aside their differences for a greater cause. The day of the contest arrived, and as Emma walked into the town hall, she felt her heart hammered with anticipation. The crowd was buzzing, filled with hope, skepticism, and excitement. She glanced at the sea of familiar faces, each one representing a piece of the wider vision they had crafted together. "Welcome, everyone," Emma began, her voice full of conviction. And when she locked eyes with Ryan, a strength washed over her. The unified force of the community settled over her shoulders like a warm blanket. The presentations raced by, ideas dancing fervently between Emma and Sarah. "We shouldn't shy away from the hard conversations," Emma proclaimed. "We can unite difference without shying away." As the applause erupted for the final time, Emma and Sarah were met with a warm embrace from the townspeople. They didn't just see Emma's vision or Sarah's plans. They recognized the shared dream, the heart of Maplewood entwined within these ideas. As the crowd broke into delighted chatter, Ethan rushed to Emma, beaming. "We did it!" In that moment, Emma knew she hadn't just fought for her shop or her community. She had nurtured connections and awakened a rich tapestry of shared dreams. And lighter than air, she could breathe in the hope emanating from the unfolding chance to make Maplewood an even brighter place. As they stepped outside to celebrate beneath the cherry blossoms, she glanced up to find Ryan at her side, ready to take that first step into a renewed journey together. It wasn't the end, it was just the beginning. And as Emma stood there, surrounded by the laughter of their blossoming community, her heart soared with the realization that she too had transformed. Much like the flowers in her shop, she had rooted herself in hope and love, ready to thrive. Now is the time for you to take part in the journey. You need to subscribe now to not miss the next exclusive stories that will fill your heart and inspire your journey. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and show your support. Comment your thoughts about this incredible journey and how it resonates with your own experiences. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation unfold. They deserve to feel the power of community and hope.